Somebody somewhere said, I bet you can't knit and walk at the same time. And the knitter said, challenge accepted. Okay, here's a spicy one, y'all. Girl. You trying to get me to start something. You know who you are. Because you ain't making a knitted bra for support. But I will share the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hello, and welcome to the YoungFolk Knits podcast. This is an episode of blasphemous, unpopular knitting opinions. Hello y'all, and welcome to the YoungFolk Knits podcast. My name is Casey and I'm the maker here at YoungFolk Knits. I live on a small farm here in Arkansas with my husband and our children, where we are beekeepers and love spending our time outside in the foothills of the Ozarks. If you're new, then welcome, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is a podcast where I mainly chat about knitting, but you never know what other crafts might wriggle their way on screen. Today's episode is all about unpopular knitting opinions. So I asked for y'all to share your unpopular knitting opinions on Instagram, and y'all got a little bit spicy. So I think what I'm gonna do is work on my half and half triangles wrap because it requires very little attention. And we can chat all about your blasphemous knitting opinions, and you can find out if we share the same opinion. So you've probably seen this before, but this is my Purl Soho half and half triangles wrap, which is made out of the Purl Soho brand linen quill, a fingering weight yarn that I really have come to love. And I have seen so many half and half triangles wraps. I decided I really needed to make one. I wanted this to be a background project that I had whenever I wanted to pick something up. I didn't have to think about it at all. I have so many complicated projects on the needles. This is really nice to just have handy for whenever I need something to pick up. I am making this as simple as possible. So while I thought about doing an I-cord edge, instead I am simply slipping the first stitch on every other row to give it a little bit of a neater look, but also keeping it as simple as possible. As you can tell, I have made very little progress, and that's because these rows are so long. Often I'll only do 2 or 3 rows at a time when I'm working on it. This is the peony pink color, and that is what I am using for the first half of my wrap. So I'll go ahead and start knitting on this and we can start chatting. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to preface this with saying it's all in good fun. If you've watched my channel before, if you know me in person, you know that I joke around all the time. Half of what comes out of my mouth is meant in jest, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm gonna keep this anonymous. No names will be shared, but I will share the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, let's start off with a cast on. Tubular cast on and bind off are very much so not worth it. Okay, so this opinion I agree with. I think that a tubular cast on and bind off can be really pretty, but a lot of times I think it is really more especially useful for specific yarns. I think in some yarns you can't even tell that you've done it. And I think too that the phrase, it makes it look like it's a rolled brim. Like for instance, on a hat, if you do a tubular cast on, it's supposed to look like it just keeps going. So what does that mean? Well, in my opinion, I do not think that it looks like your brim has been folded double. I do think that it can look very polished, but I also think that a tubular cast on or bind off gone wrong can look really scary. So if you're a neat knitter and you do a nice, neat, tidy, regular cast on or bind off, I think that looks great, and that's what I do most of the time. If I need something that's a whole lot more stretchy, then I'll do a German twisted cast on, but I very, very rarely do a tubular cast on or bind off. I think the first time I ever did a tubular cast on was for my Weekender sweater, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and it's in a really rustic worsted weight yarn. And I think that the bigger yarn has more of an impact with a tubular cast on. So I did really like the way that that looked. But it's not so important to me that if it's 300 stitches, I'm really not interested in doing a tubular cast on. I don't like it that much. So yeah, I have to agree on that one most of the time. The most popular response I got by far, I mean, I got this response many times. Mohair is the worst. Mohair will date itself quickly. Look at the 80s. Mohair and Surrey are annoying and I hate working with them. Knitting patterns with multiple strands of mohair held together is unnecessary and expensive. You get the idea. So I share your opinion. First of all, mohair is the worst, and I say that because I'm wildly allergic to it and I cannot use it. Every time I touch it, I start itching. I kind of get this rash. I start sneezing. I feel like I can't breathe. My head starts itching like crazy. My skin. Ugh. Anyway, I can't use mohair. I can use Surrey, and I do use Surrey sometimes, and I think that Surrey is beautiful, but there are a few things about Surrey that I don't like. One, I don't really like knitting with Surrey. It has zero stretch. It can be hard on your hands a little bit, I think. Two, once you finish your project, if you're wearing something dark, then the fibers just cling to it. They're all over it. You need a lint roller every time you take your sweater off. Three, it's usually very expensive. So anytime you add Surrey to a project, it's gonna up the price of your project by a lot. Thankfully, there are some companies that are now making budget-friendly mohair and Surrey, like Hobby, Fiber Spates, Isire Yarn. I think Isire Yarn has some more budget-friendly mohair drops. There's a few different options now, so that does help. And I think that it can be very soft and beautiful, and it can add a little something special, but I don't want it in everything I make. In fact, I want it to be in like 1 thing out of 5 that I make, or 1 thing out of 10 that I make. I do think that we had recently, for a while there, hit a point where every single design that was coming out was a fingering weight held with mohair, or 2 mohairs held together. And it was fun for a while, but I do kind of want it to be an every now and then project and not an everything I make project. So yes, my dears, I feel you. I feel your pain. Oh, this one. Knitted bras are silly. Girl, you trying to get me to start something. You know who you are. My opinion on knitted bras. This is a tough one. I feel like it's different for different people and different bodies. First of all, let's just talk about why you're making a knitted bra. Because you ain't making a knitted bra for support. If I made a knitted bra, it would not hold the ladies up. And the way yarn stretches out, you know, I feel like my bra would be up here and the ladies would be, you know, hanging out down beneath it. Obviously, this is an unpopular opinion. Jessie May's bras are hugely popular, and that's awesome. I just think, practically speaking, they're not gonna work for a lot of people. Like, if I made a knitted bra, I would have to wear it over my bra. I don't know, 30 years and 3 kids later, it is what it is. If you have made knitted bras and you love them, why did you make them, and what do you use them for? Just like a lounge bra? A crop top? Support? Let us know. Let us know. Let us know. Okay, let me do my wrap and turn. Okay, we better move on. Not everyone deserves a knitted gift or is knit-worthy. It's okay to politely say no when someone asks you to make something for them. Knitting for yourself is not selfish. On this opinion, I wholeheartedly endorse it. I think that when it comes to knitting, it's something that I do because I enjoy it and I love it. And if I feel pressure to make something for someone else that I don't even know if they want it, if they'll use it, if they'll appreciate it, and I'm not really enjoying making it, then it takes the joy out of it for me. On the other side of the same coin, if I am making something for someone that I think they will absolutely love it and treasure it, that brings me so much joy. So I think it's okay to say no, that you don't want to knit something for someone else. I think it's nice to knit something because you want to knit it. In the end, I'm usually more successful at finishing a gift to knit. If it's something that it was my idea to make and I wanted to make it, then that motivation is really there. And I do not think it is selfish to knit for yourself. That is by far 90% of my knitting, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There are a few people in my life that are very knit worthy, and I absolutely love making them things, but I also don't feel guilty for making things for myself. I hate chunky yarn. Super bulky weight garments are extremely too warm and kind of impractical. Especially summer tops designed with chunky wool. Like, how and why? I think that if you live in a warmer climate, it is very hard to wear chunky yarn. I think maybe in a hat or something like that, it's a little bit easier. But yeah, a super bulky weight sweater, for me at least, like that would be my coat, and it would only be on certain days of the year. I think that for people that live in a colder climate, it's a lot easier to use that kind of yarn and to wear that kind of yarn. But yes, it's very hard to wear it whenever you live in a warm climate. Aran weight's usually pretty much the top of the thickness scale for me. But oh my goodness, and it's up so fast. Okay, here's a spicy one, y'all. Warning. People only knitting DK or worsted weights is weak. Make those finger and weight sweaters. Girl! I do love a good fingering weight sweater. But yeah, it is an investment in time to make a fingering weight sweater. I love DK weight sweaters because they're so much fast. It's almost like a happy medium. They can still have really nice straight. They're not too thick, but they knit up twice as fast as a fingering weight sweater. I think it all comes down to preference on this one. In the end, you do you. If you want to knit a DK weight, chunky weight, super bulky, extra triple dipple super bulky, you do that. I like a nice range of yarn weights in my sweaters. Okay, next one. I don't like mystery yarn. I don't want to spend money, even if discounted, on yarn I may not like. Girl, I am with you on this one, okay? Unless it is a yarn dyer that has literally never dyed a single color that I don't like, then I do not like mystery yarn. In fact, I pretty much never get mystery yarn because I don't want to spend money on something that I might not like and I might not use. I would rather spend money on picking out exactly what I want. So yes, while I know these are really popular, they're not really my thing either. I definitely prefer to pick out my color. So one thing that I am in a subscription service is from Woolberry Fiber Co. But what I do like about that, I don't know what the colors are going to be from month to month, but what I do appreciate is that I get an option of 2 different colors, and I can choose my base, and I can choose what color I want of those 2 colors or both. So I do like that. I do have some control. But yeah, buying something that I have no idea if I'm going to like it or not, I just don't really like surprises. What about y'all? Are you team the surprise is what's fun, or team I want to pick out what I buy? Okay, here's a good one. I can't wrap my head around the whole walk and knit thingy. I mean, why? So I really think that this is for people like me who sit on their booty and knit a lot and don't get any cardio. So somebody thought if they put a ball of yarn in our hands and say, walk this way, maybe we get a little exercise. Knitters do like a challenge, so probably somebody somewhere said, I bet you can't knit and walk at the same time. And the knitter said, challenge accepted. And now it's trending, and so we all think we gotta walk and knit. Not sure, but I did get a bag so that I can walk and knit. Who knows? Main thing I'm worried about is that I'm gonna trip and fall on my death sticks and stab myself. I don't know, I'm gonna have to keep you updated on this one. Okay, this next one is blasphemy. Warning, swatches lie. Swatching is unnecessary. I don't swatch. Okay, y'all, this is gonna have some people up in arms. But I don't swatch very much. I don't swatch. I know. I do think that it's probably a good idea if you want your sweater to fit. I personally just can't be bothered most of the time. I like to use the first part of my sweater as a really big gauge swatch. I can tell really quickly if I'm gonna hit stitch gauge or not. I do think that swatching is not always accurate because a lot of times with certain yarn, whenever you have a finished garment, it's going to stretch more lengthwise than it will widthwise, and it may even pull in on the width. Whereas in my experience, swatches tend to stretch more widthwise instead of lengthwise. That's personal experience though. I do think it can be very helpful if you're using a yarn that's quite a bit different from the yarn that the sample was knitted in, because you're going to pretty quickly be able to see if you're just absolutely off on stitch gauge big time, which could be a big deal, again, if you want your sweater to fit. I have been known to knit a sweater, it be way too big, rip it out, start again without swatching again. But you know what? I am the boss of my sweaters. If I don't want to swatch, I'm not going to swatch. Okay, last one for today. Don't love wearing shawls, sad face. And I'm going to throw in there a twofer. I have no interest in making a half and half triangle wrap. So first of all, I actually love wearing shawls. I love it. But that being said, I can totally understand where you're coming from. Because I think that shawls worn in the traditional sense of being wrapped around your shoulders, that can be really hard to incorporate into an outfit. It just doesn't make sense a lot of the time. Now, when I like to do that is when I'm cold and I'm at home and I just want to wrap a blanket around me, but I don't want to have a blanket trailing around behind me everywhere I go. So, you know what? A shawl is perfect to wrap up and be cozy in. That being said, most of the time I wear a shawl, it's going to be worn as a scarf. That's, to me, that gives the shawl the most wearability possible. And that's the way it usually ends up working for me. So I think that if you do that, if you wear it as a triangle scarf or, you know, just wrapped around your neck, if it's more of a crescent shape, I think it's going to make it way more easily incorporated into an outfit. So that takes me to the half and half triangles wrap. I know I have recorded myself saying this and y'all have heard it multiple times that I will not be making a half and half triangles wrap. I said it's just too much, too hot for Arkansas. It's not cold enough to wear a big double layer blanket, basically, and that it's just so much knitting that I just don't think, you know, I said I'm not going to make a half and half triangles wrap. So be careful, because you see enough half and half triangles wrap and you just may make yourself one. No, I think that the thing that's cool about a half and half triangles wrap is that it's a good opportunity to get the chance to play with color a little bit. I'm going to be using mine more as a blanket, I think, than as a true shawl that I probably won't be wrapping it around myself and wearing it out and about very much. It just doesn't get cold enough here. But I think even throwing it over my chair, having it as a blanket on the couch, wrapping it around me in the house as a shawl. I think it would be very, very nice to have. Plus, I just love knitting with linen quill. I have it on some needles that I really enjoy. And it's just a very nice background project to have. I can put it down and pick it up at any point, and I don't have to think about where I'm at or what I'm doing. It's just a garter stitch, and I don't have to look at a pattern. It's just really nice. Will I be working on this for 3 years? Possibly, but that's okay because I'm enjoying every minute that I am working on it. All right, y'all, it is MCAL week. So tomorrow is cast on day, or by the time this is posted, it will be today. Thursday is cast on day for the West Knits MCAL 2022. So I am super excited for the Twist and Turns shawl. I'm knitting it with a lot of friends and it's just gonna be super fun. So I still need to cake my yarn up and get everything ready. And what I normally do is record on a Wednesday and post on Thursday. And since the clues are coming out every Thursday, I think I'll be safe to post next Thursday, since clue 2 will already be out. And at that point, it won't be crazy spoilers for clue number 1. So be sure and come back if you want to check out the progress on the MCAL each week. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and subscribe. Becoming a subscriber helps my channel out so much, and that enables me to continue producing video content. Until next week, I'm sending you all good thoughts and happy knitting.